Okay, so this is part 2. So as you can see where it cut off, because I only get 15-minute snippets on this computer to do videos, so I have to move pretty quick. So I'm not going to do every single one. I'll jump around, but do majority of them. So as you can see for number 6, the answer was 0.6 because I reduced this to 3 over 5. Okay, so let's keep going. All right, so now let's look at, lost my paper. Okay, now let's look at find the decimal notation of this number. So it's the same thing. It's still Tebow. Write that beside it. Now in this case, what you're going to see is this one does not terminate. Okay, it actually goes on and on and on. So let's see. So we're going to do top and bottom out. So I have 5 over 11. 5 is going to go inside, 11 outside. 11 cannot divide into 5, so we put our decimal 0. Bring that decimal up because you asked for help. So 11 can't go into 5. We multiply for 0, subtract, and then we bring down. So 11 divides into 55 4 times. 11 times 4 is 44. When we subtract that, I think about money. We're going to get 6. Add another 0. We're just going to keep going. It's going to go in there 5 times for 55. We subtract. We get a 5 again. Sorry, we had a 6 earlier. And so I'm going to keep going here for 0 for 50. And then 11 goes into 50 4 times. And as you can see, we'll keep going and we'll keep having this alternation between 6. We'll add another 0. We bring that down. You'll keep getting that remainder of 6 and then a 5 and then 6 and a 5. So this one is going to look like this. I said carry it out 4 places. And you can just put a bar over those first 2 numbers if it's matching. Okay, so the answer to number 7 is 0.45, but you have to put a bar over the 4 and the 5. Okay. Number 8 is pretty straightforward. I don't think we got to touch on this, so let me be very clear about this, and I will also shoot some problems for, they're already in the week 4 homework that is also on this channel. So let's look at, it says find the decimal notation of this percent, okay? So we want to take this 1.29% and change it to a decimal. So let me just be clear about this. If you want to go from a percent and convert into a decimal, you can do this 2 ways, okay? You can swing the decimal 2 places forward. So let's put swing 2 places forward. We can also say that's this way to the left, which is forward. So basically you're going to take this 1.29%, okay? You're going to take it and you're going to swing it 1, 2 forward, put the decimal there now, all right? So then you'll put a 0 in that open swing. So the final answer to this is going to be 0.0129. Okay, one more time. We had originally 1.29. I swung this 2 places forward. Okay, so the decimal ends up here. There's nothing in that ones place. So just to show the separation of your ones to your decimal places, you can put a 0 in the ones place. There's the decimal, and there's the 0.129. Okay, so the answer to that one is just like that. Now, if the swinging is confusing for you, which it shouldn't be, but let's just say, you just divide this number by 100, okay? So if you took 1.29 and divided that by 100, that also will swing it to being a decimal. And just think about it. If you're dividing something by 100, you're going to get significantly smaller, okay? So that's why we're making the number smaller by moving it forward to the left. So the answer to number 8, it should just be 0.0129 as a decimal, okay? All right, now they want us to do, again, a fraction, changing it now into a percent. Now here's the interesting thing about this, okay? I'm going to make a little small conversation for some notes, okay? Let me zoom out for a second. So I want to just touch on this, and I hope that you'll have some scratch paper, put your review to the side. Let me tell you all the ways that you're supposed to convert, okay? So if you want to go from a fraction to a decimal, you do TIBO, the top in, bottom out. So you're going to do division. Okay? That's if you want to go from a fraction to a decimal. If you want to go from a decimal to a percent, you're converting to a percent, a decimal to a percent, you're going to multiply by 100, or you swing 2 places back, which is to the right. So let me give you a quick example of that. If I was given a decimal, okay, like 0.65, and someone said, hey, what's that as a percent? The answer to it is 65%. Why? Because I'm swinging this 2 places back, okay? I'm multiplying it by 100. If you multiply that 0.65 by 100, you can check it for yourself. It'll become 65. All right? Then you put your percent symbol. So again, if you want to go from a decimal to a percent, you multiply by 100 or swing 2 places back, okay, to the right. Now, what about going the other way? All right? First, let me make a comment. The one that we're about to do right now, where it says they give us a fraction, we have to go to a percent. Guess what? You cannot do that in one step. So if they ever ask you to go from a fraction to a percent, you have to go through the decimal. So I'm telling you, you cannot do this. There's no trick to go from fraction to percent. So you have to first go fraction to decimal, and then decimal to a percent. If you want to achieve going from a fraction to a percent, you have to go through the decimal and then go to the percent. So let me do that one real quick, and then I'll finish off the other ways that we can convert. So if I have 17 over 25, here's the fraction, okay? And I want to change that to a percent. Well, guess what? To go from fraction to decimal, I said it earlier above, we have to do TIBO. Fraction to decimal, we have to do division, TIBO. So I'm going to go ahead and do top in, bottom out. I got to divide and make a decimal. So I know that I can't do 25 dividing into 15, so let's put our decimal and 0. Let's bring the decimal up. Okay, again, 25 couldn't go into 17, so we're putting a 0. Multiplying, we get 0. Subtract, and then bring down. Okay, so what we're going to try to do now is we're going to do 25 into 170. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we're trying to convert the 17 over 25 to a percent. So we have to go from a fraction through a decimal and decimal to percent. So we're going to go ahead and say 25 divides into 170 how many times? So if I do 25 times 6, I get 0, 3. 12 plus 3 is 15, so this is 150. And you know, if I add 25 more to that, then I would get 175, so we'd overshoot it. So let's say we go in here 6 times, and then of course we get, when we multiply, 150, which leaves me with a 20. And then of course I could keep going, because I subtract, bring down, and then of course I know the answer is 8. Okay, you can do the work yourself, but 12 times 8 is, I'm so sorry, not 12 times 8, 25 times 8 is 200, okay? If you want to check it, multiply for 200, and as you can see, it terminates there. So the answer to this one is 0.68, okay? Now, that's in a decimal form, the 0.68. But you want to multiply the decimal by 100, or again, swing the decimal 2 places back. So let's go over here to the side to get the percent. So I'm now at decimal. I can multiply this again by 100, and I would get 68%. Or you can take that 0.68 and swing 1, 2 to the back or to the right, and that's where the percent sign ends up, okay? So that's, again, will still give me 68%. So keep that in mind. When you want to go from a decimal to a percent, you multiply by 100 or swing 2 places back or to the right so the number will get bigger. So the answer to this one is really 68% for number 9. Okay, hope that makes sense. Make sure, again, you do Tybo with the division, or T-bow, I'm sorry, and then you multiply by 100. All right, the next one. What happens if I want to go from a percent and they want me to find a fraction? Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit different. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is the percent number was 2,250%. Okay, so again, I want to go from the percent. I have to go through the decimal, and then from decimal, I have to go to fraction. So let me show you how to do this one. Okay, here we go. So to go from a percent to a decimal, you want to, the way that I think about it is you kind of ball this up in the back and swing 2 places forward. I know my hand is huge on that, but you just ball this up and you swing it 2 places forward, or you divide this by 100. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ball this up like that, and I'm just going to swing 2 places forward. I'm dividing by 100, so I should get smaller. So my percent to decimal, I'm going to get the number 22.50. That's what I have as a decimal. Again, you can divide that by 100. There's 2 ways to think about it. Divide it by 100, or take that decimal in the back, ball up that percent sign, and then swing forward. All right, so we got a decimal. Now let's do fraction. Now the way that I teach going from a decimal to a fraction is I do this method called first name over last name. And the way that I do this is I say to myself, okay, I look at the number that I see. So I see the number 22 and 50 hundredths, okay? Now 22 is the whole part, okay? That's the whole part. That's like your dollars or your money. So I know that this fraction is a big 22 because that's the whole piece. It's this part right here, that's the decimal part, and that's the part I want to write as a fraction. So the first name is the number that I see. When I look at this number, if I ignore the 22, I see 50. So that's what goes in the numerator. 50 over the last name is the last place value where the 0 is, and this is the hundredths. So I'm going to put 50 over 100, which that should make sense to you because 50 divided by 100 is 0.5, right? Now when we have a pair of zeros, we can slash those out. So as you can see, this is 22, and I can reduce that 5 over 10 to 1/2. So we've converted now that percent to a fraction, and we should be correct. So for number 10, 22.5. Put 22 and 1/2. Okay. Now on the answer key, it says 45 over 2. Now don't let that freak you out, because again, this is a mixed number. So if I multiply down 22 times 2, that's going to be 44. 44 plus 1 is 45 over 2. So either one of those answers are acceptable. And if you were taking the exam, if they have this as an answer choice, you could bubble it, or they may have that as an answer choice. Okay? So they just changed the mixed number into an improper fraction. And again, this is 45 over 2. Look at the answer key. Okay, so now I'm going to jump around to do percent questions. I actually think I'm going to stop the video here because I'm going to run out of time on this one. Okay, so look at the next video, part 3.